Great. Now we're going to start some rolling. So you're going to take your box or your yoga block, take the soft ball. Calves can be really tender, and there's several layers of tissue here. So we're going to take that soft blue ball, we're going to put it right at the base of those heads of gastrocnemius, and we're just going to kind of go up and down there. You could put your other foot on the floor and lift up and roll like that. Notice that my toes are kind of pointing straight up. And what I'm doing is rolling up through the center, further splitting those heads of gastrocnemius and warming up those tissues. If you can't lift up, all you have to do is just a little bit at a time. Move the ball down, nice and soft, this ball, perfect for this beginning practice. You can see that my gastroc kind of goes off to the side, right? So we're going to focus now on those two heads. You can always switch to your smaller ball after a little bit. We're also going to use the rad roller in here in a little bit. So you're going to turn your toes out toward the outside, out toward the right if you're working on your right foot. And then you can kind of explore that one head of gastroc. Notice the toes are turned out to the side so that the ball is getting that lateral head. And then deep to this gastrocnemius is soleus. And then deep to that we have the muscles, the flexor muscles of the toes. So we're going to get a little more specific now. We've been working on this outer head. So we're going to take the smaller ball now, put it just below the knee joint, and just sink in. Now, I like you to be up on this block or this box so that you can do a little movement. And you're just exploring, finding where, a couple inches down from the knee, often a little tender spot right there in gastroc. And again, gastroc can create aching in the Achilles, aching in the calf, at the bottom of the foot, and it can make, if it's loaded with tension, it will be harder to lift up your heels on that side. Oh, now with the smaller ball, we can get much more specific in some tender spots. And so we'll get on a little spot and point and flex, and point and flex. Oh. Great. And then we're going to go up and down. We don't want to spend too much time on one particular tender point, just a few breaths and then shift. Okay. Now we're going to do that more inside head of gastrocnemius. So to get to that point, those points, we're going to put that ball just to the inside and drop the foot a little toward the outside. Okay. And just finding a place that's comfortable to lean your body. You could also be leaning up on your chair. And deep in there, we get to the top of flexor hallucis. And you might even feel it radiate down to the bottom of the foot or to the big toe. Doing some point and flex when you find a tender spot. Play with the angle of the foot, and that's going to follow around those kind of ropes of the calf muscles. I'm going to move this ball down now, getting the lower along that head of gastroc, getting into some deeper points in the soleus. And we might even be pressing a little bit into tibialis posterior, which contributes a lot to ankle weakness. And we're going to get real specific in that muscle in just a little bit. And when you find a tender spot, I'm still in that kind of bulb of gastroc. Find a tender spot, point and flex. Make some circles with the foot. Don't beat it to death. Keep breathing in your belly. you might relax the leg and just kind of move the rest of your body, move the pelvis a little bit, just kind of rolling around that area. Ah, it's so tender, right? It's so tender. Yeah. Okay. Let's move off that ball for a minute. Put things off to the side. Point and flex. Couple circles. And feel the difference inside of the two sides. That right side for me is really waking up. Tissues already feel freer. Left side just feels a little heavy and kind of bleh, right? So we're going to switch to the rad roller on this right leg. And we're going to use the rad roller on the block. Now, where are we going? I'm going to come up to the camera for this. Okay. Here is that bulb of gastrocnemius, and if I lift my heel, you can see that muscle pop out a little bit. And then right down through the center is the Achilles tendon. So we're going to come right below those bulbs, right below that meat of gastroc with the double ball. And so basically, we're kind of flanking on either side the Achilles tendon. So what this does, first just lay the muscles down on the balls. Just that alone. If you're having any Achilles tendon issues, bottom of the foot pain, weakness, this is going to be a key area for you. And just a little movement forward and back. And then we're going to go a little bit bigger. We're going to kind of strip the edges of the Achilles tendon. You can just keep adjusting the ball as you need. Sliding along the Achilles with the rad roller. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. The soleus is this deeper, broader muscle. We can really access it just below those bulbs of the gastrocnemius, right at the top of the Achilles tendon. So you lay your leg right on there, rad rollers on either side of the Achilles tendon, and then you're going to roll your foot out to the right just a little bit. Just that little rolling is going to drop that ball right into a very specific spot in soleus. If you didn't find it, you just kind of roll up or down a little bit, little tiny movement to find a very tender spot. There's one right there, very tender. And then you do a little bit of point and flex. That's going to kind of amp up the experience, the sensation a little bit. This little tiny movement. See if you can relax the leg onto that spot. So this can pull the Achilles. It can pull the Achilles a little bit more to one side or the other. Heel pain, plantar fascia pain can all come right from here. And then now we're going to bring the toes to center and then roll toward the inside. So on either side, right at the top of this Achilles, are these soleus points. And then just sliding up and down just a little bit, keeping that leg rotated a little bit inward. And a little bit higher up for me, there's my spot. And then a little point and flex. Great. Whew, so tender, right? Sometimes we don't feel these points release right away. They might just feel tender. And that's okay. Give them a little loving attention. Breathe in your belly. Send gratitude to these muscles for working so hard. And then we're going to go up and down, keeping the foot dropped in a little bit. And then turning the toes out, keeping the toes pointed out a little bit. Soleus. Then we're going to give that leg a break. Right? Stretch the legs out, point and flex. What a difference. What a difference. Circles. I'm just going to grab my feet and give a little pull. Feels so good. Now we're going to go to the left side and do all of that again. We're going to start with softening the calf with just the blue ball. So nice and easy, nice and gentle. Now the thing about this blue ball is that it communicates really well with your body. It's a very soft beginning communication. I love to start rolling work with the softest tool I have. And I always feel like the soft ball is really missing from a lot of foam rolling repertoire. So we want to use that soft ball to just get things going, increases hydration in the tissue, warms up the area a little bit, communicating with the nervous system like, okay, here I come. I'm going to do a little bit of work here and just get things started. You can go side to side. You could always, if that little ball is a little bit too much, you could pump a little more air into the softball and use that instead. That can be a little bit sweeter sometimes. Okay, so now I'm splitting those heads of gastroc with this soft ball. Okay, now we're going to get real specific, right? I'm going to switch to the smaller ball, the myofoam ball. I'm going to place that ball right in the middle of that gastroc. Just let the leg rest there and sink in. And then we're going to get that ball right below the knee in that inner upper area of that gastroc. And let the movement be slow and small here. See here, you can rest on your chair. And then every once in a while, just stop and sink. Let the ball work through the tissue, sinking the tissue into the ball, finding a little tender spot, playing with the angle of the foot. Try up higher by the knee. Ah, there it is, there it is. And then once you find a little point and flex, if you can, do that without bumping off the ball. And then we're going to move down lower. Both heads of gastroc tend to hold 2 points on either side, one up high and one down lower at the bottom of that kind of bulb. And because we can't separate the layers that we're pressing into, we're also really massaging soleus and some of those deeper tissues at the same time. So finding a tender spot, see that the foot is turned in, sink down, breathe in your belly. Maybe a little point and flex or little circles. Check the angle. Do you want to go a little more? All right. Then to the center, using the ball to separate those heads of gastrocnemius, upper calf muscle. And then we're going to do this outer head. So starting up high, just below the knee, turning the foot out, let the ball sink in. Now, it's stringy and ropey, and there's many layers. You might find things are a little bumpy. That's normal. It's normal for them to be bumpy. Oh, and then up high, foot drop to the outside, exploring that upper head, upper lateral or outer head of gastroc. Sink in every once in a while. Couple deep breaths. Maybe a point and flex. You might think, oh, there's not much going on right there. And then you start moving your foot and go, oh, actually, there's a lot going on right there. So now I'm going to go a little lower, outer head of gastrocnemius, really also massaging soleus, getting into those deeper tissues. How I find there's a real tender spot right in there. I have to get just the right angle. So I'm going to shift my foot around until that ball drops in right to the spot I'm looking for. Oh, there it is. There it is. Point and flex. Point and flex. Great. Move the ball around. You might feel like, whoa, the whole thing is sore and tender. And there might be a lot of protective tension around these spots. So do your best, isolate a couple of spots, and then come back to it tomorrow. Really, the best practice is to do a little bit each day so that you're training your muscles. When I push here, you let go, okay? All right. Whew. Now we're just going to take that little ball, roll up and down, splitting those heads of gastroc again. And then move off the ball. Point and flex both feet. I was noticing that my left foot wasn't flexing, wasn't lifting as much as my right. But now that I've just done that, it's lifting the same. So start noticing what helps your body, what makes a big impact on your body so that you know what to do tomorrow when you're doing your self-care. Okay, soleus. And stripping the edges of the Achilles tendon with the rad roller. I love this ball. There's so many great things to do with it, and this is one of my favorites. So get up on that Achilles and then roll up and down the Achilles. If your wrists hurt when you do that, you can make little fists to lift up. You could also just move the hip to slide across that. Move the ball up a little bit, stripping the edges of the Achilles tendon, massaging the soleus, which kind of sticks out a little bit on either side of the Achilles tendon. And then we're going to come right up just below. Here's the bulb of the gastroc. I'm going to come right below it, just below it. And then we're going to start by rolling the foot in. So we roll the foot in a little bit, lean off to the right and go up and down, just exploring, where is that tender spot in the soleus? And there, I found mine right there. I'm going to shift so that you can see it from the other side. Dropping. There's the bulb. I'm just below it. And I lean that foot off to the right, and I find a real tender spot right there. And then point and flex, and that is going to be so helpful to tightness in the calves, Achilles tendon issues, weakness flexing the foot, which is really extension, but we won't make it too confusing. Oh my goodness. Remember to explore, right? Oh, maybe it's a little lower, that real specific point. We've already done those work in the heads of the gastroc. We want to make sure that we're below that. And then we're going to shift to that outer point. I'm going to turn myself around so you can see it a little better in the camera. So now we drop the foot and the knee out toward the outside and explore just below that Achilles, and you'll find most likely a real tender spot. Notice I'm not real low by the ankle. I'm up a few inches from that ankle joint, right? Because we're right at the top of the Achilles tendon. Oh, there's that soleus. Point and flex. Point and flex. Great. Soleus, sole of the foot. Achilles tendon issues, weakness and extension, lifting the toes and the feet. Great. Okay. Then we're going to roll up and down again. Toes point to the center and up toward the ceiling. No effort, just relaxing, sliding the hip forward and back to roll on that tissue. And then we're going to move off that ball. Woohoo! So good. And then stretching the legs forward, little flip-flop to just kind of shake everything out. And then flex, really extend. Point, flex, alternating. Keep the fluids moving, keep the hydration in the joints and the tissues. All right, great.